Hello everyone, welcome again to another series of video from Electronics Eternity. This time around we will be looking at how to upload bootloader into ATMEGA328P chip, right? So before we get into the technicalities, let's take a moment to understand why we actually do this, right? So first of all, if you already have an Arduino board and somehow the IC chip gets faulty or it's just malfunctioning, right? It's no longer working, and you need to replace that ATmega chip, right? So what you can do is purchase this ATmega 328 chip and then upload Arduino bootloader into it and then subsequently use it, right, in your Arduino boards, right? But of course, in order to do this, you need a functioning Arduino, right? So the situation that I just explained may be applicable if you have more than one Arduino. For example, you have like two Arduinos. One is faulty because of the ATmega chip is not working, and the other one is still working. But you choose to fix the faulty one, and therefore you have purchased a new IC for ATmega, right, as a replacement. So that is one of the reason, which is basically just replacement for a faulty ATmega 328P chip, so that it can be inserted to an Arduino and then it works well and good after that. And for the second reason, we would usually do this so that we can shrink our project, right? Usually to make your project a lot smaller than having an Arduino board in the project itself is, we can use the IC chip directly, right? So this is another one reason why you should you can use ATmega 328P chip directly instead of having the whole Arduino board itself, right? And also I find this is more cost efficient, and it doesn't make sense for you to have a new Arduino board every time you're trying to come up with a new prototype or a new embedded design, right? So it doesn't make sense to have one Arduino board for each of the projects that you're making. You could be having a tons of project, and imagine how many Arduino you need if you meant to have one for each project, right? I know you could assemble and disassemble the project anytime you want, but then that is subject to a lot of work and time consumption, right? So and therefore I feel like directly having an ATmega 328P chip directly soldered to your project, or just combined to your project, makes a lot more sense, and also it's more cost efficient, right? Now that we have gotten into why we do this, now let's go into a bit of the technicalities, right? So when you first purchase this ATmega 328P chip, right? So sometimes we don't have the Arduino bootloader in it, right? What is Arduino bootloader actually? Arduino bootloader, or the Arduino hex code is basically a combination of hexadecimal codes that we have in the ATmega chip, so that it can interpret the commands that we key in the Arduino IDE, right? Without these codes already existing in the ATmega chip, this chip will not be able to understand or interpret whatever we upload from the Arduino IDE. Okay, so this kind of helps to help us to program our Arduino or our ATmega chip in a much simpler manner. Whatever code that we can upload, the ATmega chip can understand and then subsequently perform actions related to it. For example, like lighting up an LED or turning on a DC motor or server, or just about anything that you want to do, right? So if I were to like translate this Arduino bootloader into an example that we commonly use, you can think of Arduino bootloader as an operating system, right? For an example, if you have a computer or laptop, before you can do anything with that computer or laptop, you need to have an operating system in it, right? For an example, we have Windows 10 or just whatever, right? So if you want to be able to do things like your work in Word or in PowerPoint or even in Excel, you need to first have have an operating system in which you can install a Microsoft Office and then you can work on it. But by the hardware alone, for example, like a computer or a laptop or a hard disk or SDD or RAMs, it doesn't work just with the hardware alone. You need to install the BIOS and the operating system in it, and then only it will be usable, right? So coming back to ATMEGA again, right? So if we want to make ATMEGA chip usable, it needs to have an operating system, and this Arduino bootloader is the operating system, right? So you have an operating system within the chip, and whatever program that you create in your Arduino IDE development environment, it can then be uploaded and it can be understood by the chip, and it can carry out the intended task. Okay, so I hope I'm not confusing you guys with this explanation. If by any chance I am confusing you, feel free to read. There are just so many articles about this where you can understand more about these memories and how and where is the bootloader goes into and how does it play its role. Okay, now that we have gone through that long dissertation about Arduino bootloader, now let's look into it. So this is the circuit when you want to upload a Arduino bootloader into ATMEGA chip. Now you're gonna need a working Arduino with the ATMEGA chip on it, right? For example, for boot loading, you need the working Arduino and the ATMEGA chip on it, right? So this is the programmer and this is the target object, right? So the target is a brand new ATMEGA chip that you just bought, and you need to upload the bootloader into it. Okay, so don't worry about the circuit. As usual, I will be giving you the fresh diagram. There is also one of the schematic diagram which is very famous for boot loading. I'm sure some of you have seen it, but nevertheless I'll be providing that diagram. Okay, now that we have looked at the diagram, now let's see how we can upload the code. Okay, now so let's look at how we are going to upload the bootloader from Arduino IDE. Okay, now there are a few things to check before doing this, right? So first of all, you need to check if you have your Arduino port in the right port that you want to perform your bootloading, right? That's very basic, but nevertheless very important. And the right Arduino board, in this case I'm using Arduino Uno, of course. And first of all, you need to choose this AVR-ISP MK2. Okay, once you have chosen that, and then you go to examples and then choose Arduino ISP. Okay, you need to make sure that you have this code uploaded into your Arduino, which is acting as a programmer in this case. Okay, in simple terms, what this code does is it makes your Arduino to function as a programmer, right? So you need to have this uploaded so that it can function as a programmer and it can perform bootloading into the new raw ATMEGA chip that you have just bought, right? So it's as simple as that, and of course there are more explanations in the code itself, so feel free to read through. And in case if you're using anything other than Arduino Uno, you might want to look out for those reminders that we have over here. Okay, in this case I'm using Arduino Uno, which is most of the time is the general case, so I'm not too bothered about that. Okay, now I have my Arduino connected to Uno on COM7, so I'm gonna just go ahead and upload that. Let's wait for a bit. Uploading, and it's done uploading. Okay, now that we are done uploading this, the next step is we're going to change this into Arduino ISP. Sorry, my bad. Arduino SISP. Okay, it get confusing a bit, but this is the one that you need to choose. You choose Arduino SISP, and then yes, that's right. Arduino SISP, and then you're not going to upload, but you are going to click Burn Bootloader. Okay, so Burn Bootloader. It may take a minute, but in my case it happened too soon, so you can see the result already. It's done burning bootloader. Okay, so once you have done this, of course you can upload some codes into the newly burned ATMEGA to check this, or just to make things simple, you can take out the original ATMEGA chip that you have in your Arduino in your Arduino board, and you can replace it, or you can swap it with the newly bootloaded ATMEGA chip, and try uploading some code into it. So that is how I tested. I took out my original ATMEGA chip from my Arduino board, and then I replaced it with the ATMEGA chip that I just bootloaded, and I try uploading some simple codes such as Blink programs and everything, and it works just fine. So that's how you ultimately find out if your bootloading process is a success or not, right? But most of the time when you see done burning bootloader without any error, that means it's a success, right? So you don't have to be so overly bothered about it. But if you wish to test, then yes, of course you can always test it by the methods that I have mentioned just earlier. Okay, so this is all about it, and I hope you have learned something new from this video, and good luck trying. If you have any comments or questions, feel free to post it. I would always love to respond and answer to you. Until then, thanks for watching. Have a good day. Bye.